What's up, guys? It's KB. Make sure you subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel. Click the bell icon down below so you don't miss a single video from us. And thanks for tuning in to another video from Underground Sports Philadelphia. Now let's get into it.
Philadelphia, baby, you're going to love it. Best sports fans in the world. Actually, the worst, but that's what makes them the best.
All right, I think we are all set. What is going on, everybody? Welcome into episode number 564 of Underground Sports Philadelphia, presented by the City of Vineland. It's KB and Matt coming at you from Underground Studios. We got a lot to dive into, from the Fightin' Phils to NFL roster cutdowns, and the Sixers stink just continues to infiltrate anywhere they go. So we'll dive into all that, plus the Union getting set for another MLS scheduled match against Toronto. So we'll dive into that as well. But before we get into everything, make sure you guys are following us on the socials at Underground PHI on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Threads, Facebook.com/Underground Sports PHI. You can follow Matt on Twitter at Matt Castorina. You can follow me at KBIZZL311. Subscribe to the podcast feed on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you decide to consume your audio version of podcasts from. It helps us exponentially. It helps us grow this thing to new levels that we want to take it to. And, you know, if you want to see us succeed, subscribe to the podcast on your favorite audio platform, which, I mean, right now we're inside the top 1,500 of sports podcasts in the United States. So that's pretty dope. So let's keep climbing those charts and go subscribe on Apple and Spotify. Leave a 5-star rating and review, and subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel, youtube.com/@Underground Sports Philadelphia. That's where you get full video episodes of this show twice a week. You get full video episodes of every podcast on our network, clips, live streams, original video content. All of it goes on our YouTube channel. We're currently at 533 subscribers, on that road to 600, and of course on that road to 1,000. So go subscribe, youtube.com/@Underground Sports Philadelphia. And this show, as always, presented by the City of Vineland. And the City of Vineland Municipal Calendar features city-organized, city-sponsored, and city-affiliated events that are of public interest. The calendar, which is accessible at vinelandcity.org, is a good way for residents and visitors to build awareness, remain engaged with city government, and participate in local events. You can also follow the City of Vineland on social media via their Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube pages. Through these tools, you can stay connected to the community and get important announcements about programs and services offered by the city. Vineland, New Jersey, where it's always growing season. And big thank you to Security 21 Security Systems and Paul J. Gillespie Incorporated for their continued support of this podcast. What's going on, Matt?
Living the dream.
We took in Shohei Ohtani last night. Took in 5 home runs by the Phils. Unfortunately, Phils couldn't get the series sweep once again. But 7-2 homestand, not too shabby.
Yep, that's a good way to kind of wrap up the month of August, just about. And what a fantastic August it was for the Phillies. They really turned on the heat, turned on the home runs. Last night in between today, I don't know, felt like 7 or 8 home runs added to the tally. So it's been good, and like we've been talking about, the other teams in the wild card have not been able to keep up even a 500 pace. So they've not only booted some teams out of the wild card with some of their play, but have given themselves a nice cushion as we turn the page into September. So yeah, it's been a good homestand and brings you into a final month where, like we said, you have the potential to do something the Phillies have not been able to do, which is, one, clinch the playoffs maybe with like a week or maybe even
sooner.
2. Yeah, maybe even sooner. But that also obviously gives you the advantage of being able to set up your lineup a little bit. You're not caught between either to like having too much rest. That's definitely a concern coming into the playoffs. Sometimes you don't want to be rusty necessarily, but you are probably going to be able to give guys an extra off day or two, which is helpful. I do think that is beneficial at the end of a long season. So it's been a great homestand. I think it's exactly what they needed. They went out and performed in a way that was very good. They still have some crucial series coming up against wildcard teams, but they beat the teams like we've wanted them to do, and like they've done a lot this season. If we can give them their credit. The Angels, a team really struggling. They almost sweep them, and they play well against the Cardinals as well. Those are good results all the way around.
Yeah, and looking at the wild card right now, the Phillies magic number, I believe, is 27. That's pretty fun.
Wait, what was it again?
27 to clinch the top wild card.
Yeah. I could see. I mean, you look at just like the teams still in the wild card. The Padres are, I think, are just completely out of it. Marlins are falling out of it. If they're not careful, I think they're gonna have a hard time to make it back into the race. So you're kind of losing a team about every week and a half right now. So we could get this pretty shaved down soon.
Yeah, and I mean, you look right now, the Phillies at 74-59 after today's loss. I mean, they're on pace for 91 wins.
Yeah.
And I mean, last year we thought was magical, fun. They go on the run to the World Series, 2 games shy of the World Series. Kind of feels like this team's like just a bit better in some aspects, more so than others. The bullpen not great today, but this team is just clicking on a lot of cylinders right now. And if they can just keep it pushing into September and October, which seems to be their status quo, where they just get hot down the stretch, we could be in for quite the fall between the Phillies and the Eagles.
Yeah, absolutely. Very similar to last year. And then the Sixers come along and ruin it all. That'd be nice. But, yeah, I think in general, the vibes around this team are very good and just feel – I don't know. It does feel like a little bit of promise and hope. And didn't have this time last year, because I think everyone was just kind of anxious about getting back into the playoffs. Obviously, again, with the National League not being as strong, even a little weaker than last year when the Phillies, squeaked in as the last wild card. So they've definitely had more dominant stretches, I think, than they did last year. And I think, again, like you said, with the World Series run, it does feel like you have that kind of under your belt, and I think the fans recognize that as well. And there's just a belief there that wasn't there last season.
Yeah, and the Phillies' overall number to clinch just a playoff spot is 24.
Yeah.
So they're right there. Month of September is going to roll in. It's not an easy month. You have a weekend series in Milwaukee. That's going to be potentially a precursor to a playoff series, especially with who's getting the starts in Game 1 with Wheeler and Peralta on Friday night. So going to be a nice test for the Phillies. The Brewers have been hot lately too, so looking forward to that series. But to kind of put a bow on this homestand too, I mean, it's brought to you by our pals over at PHI Apparel Company. You want to gear up for Red October, you want to gear up for the Eagles season and stand out while doing so, go to our friends at PHI Apparel Company. They've got the best and most exclusive Philadelphia sports merch that nobody else is going to have. Plus, you can get your Underground Sports Philadelphia podcast merch as they are our exclusive partners for all of our merch. Go to phiapparel.co, use code UNDERGROUND, and you get 10% off any and all merch orders. It's the most effective and direct way to support everything we're doing here at Underground Sports Philadelphia. So go get your merch at phiapparel.co and use code UNDERGROUND for 10% off your order. I did what I dubbed the bender at the bank, 3 straight games going to Citizens Bank Park. I now understand why it's a grind for 162 games.
Absolutely.
Because 3 was like, holy moly, I am feeling it. We got to see Shohei Ohtani in person, which I think is something everybody should do. And like we said, the Phillies' bats came to life. 59 home runs in the month of August, which I believe is tied or standalone third most in a singular month since 1904. Only behind the 2019 New York Yankees, who had like 74 in June, and then this past June the Braves had 62.
Nice, good to be in that company.
Good company there. And then today, Bryce Harper gets the job done and hits career home run number 300.
Yeah, very cool milestone for him to reach. It's nice that he did it as a Philly too. I think he's again. You know how they do the like the master class things. He needs one on pandering because he should just teach every athlete when they go to a new city just how easy it is to endear yourself to the people by just lying. Although some of it does seem genuine, but yeah, he obviously fantastic from him, and it's good to see him. You know, we were worried about him coming in the season, what kind of impact he could have. You know, the injury that he has, even though maybe you don't typically associate it with an issue with hitting, still like don't love it. But the fact that he's been able to turn it on, especially the last few weeks, it's felt like he's gotten really back into form. That's a good sign pointing forward for the Phillies. This time last year, by the way, August 30th, Phillies were 72-58. So a little above the pace there. You know, obviously like one more in the loss column, but that's like a game and a half up on last year's Phillies. The Mets last year on August 30th, 82-48. Quite the turnaround.
Gotta love that. Mets. And I mean, you know, we go to the game last night, and on our way, the Angels, you know, just waive a quarter of their roster.
Bizarre. I don't really see that much.
No.
Especially, I got to say, it does not bode well for the Ohtani race if you're conceding, you know, before September.
And it just makes everything you did at the trade deadline look that much worse, especially since you waived one of the guys that you got at the or two of the guys that you got at the deadline. You know, to swoon Ohtani into staying, and you gave up your number 2 and number 3 prospect for Giolito, and he's on waivers now. Hunter Renfroe just to stay at Citizens Bank Park.
Yeah,
we saw you can hit a home run today. That's all I needed to see. Grichuk, Giolito, Reynaldo Lopez, all on waivers from the Angels right before the game. Just a disaster class by the Angels, to say the least. Would you want any of those players? Obviously, you know, Renfroe can hit the long ball, but do any of the other players kind of intrigue you for this Phillies roster?
Yeah, we were talking about this yesterday. I would take Giolito 100%. Yeah, I think you could interest me in Grichuk. I think, honestly, like I wouldn't be picky at all. I think if you can find even just a guy on the margins to help you through the rest of September, even if you don't necessarily believe that it's a playoff like impact player, which I don't know how many of those guys are really pushing you to like a new level, besides just giving you, I think, an extra option. So yeah, I would be interested in just about everyone on the waiver list there.
And I mean, I think I've seen enough of Rodolfo Castro this year to fill my quota on Rodolfo Castro appearances. Gene Segura, you know, we know he went to the Bryce Harper School of Pandering because his most recent Instagram post is him posing with his extremely cool dog in a Phillies t-shirt.
Yeah.
He's like, Dave, just come get me, please.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't see what difference would that make, honestly. I mean, Gene hasn't played it in, a month? I don't think he would be much worse than Rodolfo Castro at this point.
No, but I don't think he's back.
No.
Because really, I think the only thing Gene gives you is hitting, and even that, I think there are guys on this team that do that better, and I don't know that it makes a lot of sense outside of just nostalgia, just feeling kind of nice. But
officer of the vibes.
Yeah, I think the vibes are pretty good as they are.
They are.
You know, I think it's hard to say that the vibes are bad at the moment.
I mean, a 7-2 homestand is phenomenal for this team, and like you said, you know, they keep pushing back the rest of the wild card teams. You know, we kicked San Francisco out of the wild card, and they've just been spiraling ever since. They're kind of tied now with Arizona in the wild card after the last stretch of games that they had, and Arizona's like 1-9 in their last 10.
Yeah.
Against the Dodgers, who they're playing tonight, so they could slip out of the wild card after their game tonight. But it does feel like it's kind of shaping up to be Phillies and Cubs.
Phillies Cubs, yeah, that'd be a good series. Cubs have turned it on. I mean, post trade deadline, they didn't move guys. They bet on themselves to push for the wild card. Division's not gone for them totally either. They're only 3 games back. I'm sure that they must have at least one more series against the Brewers before the end of the season. They do. In fact, it's the final series of the season, so they could theoretically could be the Brewers even. But yeah, it's going to be a tight race all the way to the end. I think for seeding, the Phillies, I think, should do the smart and correct thing, which is just continue winning. I think that's, if you have that option, you should do that. I think I don't know why more sports teams don't do that, but I do think home field advantage for a wild card series would be really beneficial to the Phillies. They've just like a lot of teams, of course, have a great home and away split. So I would enjoy if they're able to do that for us.
Third best record at home in the National League this year, just behind the Braves and the Dodgers. And I mean, Matt, if it does end up where the Cubs win their division, Milwaukee gets in as a wild card, Phillies, Milwaukee, where have I heard that story before? Followed up by a potential second round matchup against the LA Dodgers. Where have I heard that story before?
We get our Victorino Grand Slam to a Matt Stairs. Who would be the Victorino Grand Slam, and who would be the Matt Stairs of this team? It's tough, because you don't have pitchers anymore hitting, but
it's got Marsh gives me the Victorino.
Marsh definitely,
especially same kind of.
Is he as wholesome as Victorino though? Like I think
he's
Victorino has the kind of charm about him.
Marsh is the chaotic good of Victorino.
Yeah, Victorino's neutral
personality charts
is neutral good, and I would say Brandon Marsh is chaotic good. I don't know who our Matt Stairs would be. That's a hard analog to make these days. It's kind of has to just be someone that you don't expect really to go out there and do that. I'm struggling with that one.
Jake Cave.
I mean, that would, if Jake Cave is seeing pitches,
Cave sends one into the night.
That would be something else. I tell you that. That would be something else. I mean, we could potentially face the Rays in the World Series.
Yeah.
It's not
out of the question.
And it's not an election year. Never mind. It's not an election year. That's the only thing.
Would be pretty wild.
Yeah.
I think the only difference would be is that you're playing in the wild card round, so
right.
You'd have to play a NLCS against.
World's a little different now.
Yeah.
World's a little different.
I mean, also Victorino vibes would be, I think, Edmundo Sosa.
Yeah, I could definitely see that.
But overall, a great homestand for the Phils as they get set for a road trip now against Milwaukee and San Diego. Just got to win. Don't let San Diego play spoiler to you and just go out and at least take 2 out of 3 from the Brewers. I think that's the key there, and just win the series and keep this thing rolling. Let's take a look at the NL East and, of course, MLB run differentials across the board. Brought to you by our pals over at Tomahawk Shades, the best small batch eyewear in the game. They now have their app. Go download the app in the App Store or Google Play. Check out all the sunglasses, blue light glasses, prescription lenses, everything in between that you need for outside when you're going and watching the Phils, getting ready to watch the Birds, or if you're watching them on your TV. And when you go to checkout, use promo code USP for 25% off at TomahawkShades.com or in the Tomahawk Shades app. That's code USP for 25% off from our pals over at Tomahawk Shades. Matt, looking at the NL East, the Braves at 86-45. They've scored 763 runs on the year for a plus 231 run differential, which is the best in baseball by far. Then the 74-59 Philadelphia Phillies in second place have scored 650 runs and have a plus 73 run differential. The Miami Marlins, even Steven, at 500, coming back down to earth like we said they would. Still have scored the fewest runs in the division by a wide margin and have a negative 57 run differential on the season. A new team in fourth place, The stolen franchise, Washington Nationals. 62-72 on the year. They've scored 580 runs, which is the third most in the division, but they have a negative 102 run differential.
Great.
And then in last place, holding down the basement, the 60-73 New York Mets. 576 runs scored, a negative 41 run differential. And it is just a beautiful sight seeing them in last place behind the Washington Nationals, behind the Marlins, and nowhere close to a playoff spot.
22 wins off their pace last year. That's shocking. You got the chance to maybe 30 off last year's. That's a massive drop. That's more than just we kind of had bad luck. Like that's almost like you sold your two most expensive pitchers at the trade deadline. It's almost like you did that. That's crazy.
It's almost like trying to blame the season on the World Baseball Classic was just an excuse.
Sure, Diaz's injury is totally the reason why you have lost 22 more games this year.
Did you see the Mets fans booed Max Scherzer in his return? They gave him a tribute video, and they booed throughout the entire video.
It's hilarious.
It's a beautiful thing.
I don't know what, I will say it's weird to give someone a tribute video that wasn't he was just a free agent signing and never won anything there and wasn't even there that long either. No. He was just a very good player that played there for
2 years.
Yeah, 2 years. Kind of weird to give a tribute video off the top, but I guess, again, you're the Mets, so
yeah,
nothing else. But I don't know. It's a weird to give someone a tribute video for that. Hoppy and Mickey didn't get one last night. I mean, they were actually from our system.
Mickey did get his ring today.
Mickey did, yeah. But I just, I think tribute videos should really only be for certain players on certain occasions. I don't know. What highlights are you even showing?
I think you got to be there a minimum 5 years.
Did he even have a playoff win?
No, he got pulled in the game against the Padres.
What highlight are you showing? I don't even understand.
The highlight they're showing.
Remember when he beat up on the
eyeball.
Rockies that one game in July? Yeah, he was dealing that night.
His one eyeball is the one highlight of Max Scherzer's career.
I hope they had his September collapses on there. They have those. It'd fall apart like a sandcastle.
Blasting home runs off of him.
Come on, that's embarrassing. Even for the Mets, that's embarrassing.
It's so nice seeing them in last place.
It's what they deserve.
Ugh. They
saw the Yankees sucking the show. Actually, we're gonna do the same. They can't stop themselves.
Copy my homework, but change it a little bit.
Yeah,
that's the Mets and Yankees. It's crazy too. Talking about kind of collapses where it felt like the Reds were gonna be a team that were gonna be in the mix, and they've kind of fallen off the face of the earth quite a bit. They're still 3 games over 500, still kind of in the mix, but doesn't really feel like their playoff hopes are too strong right now. They have a negative 27 run differential by being 3 games over 500. That's a team that I was kind of disappointed they didn't do anything at the deadline, just for baseball's sake and having the spark that they've had with all these young players, and then just old man Joey Votto coming back to life.
Yeah.
Cubs and Brewers holding it down though in the NL Central. And then in the NL West, the Dodgers with a plus 163 run differential. And then you have the tail of the 2 second-place teams, the Diamondbacks and Giants, both 69 and 64. Diamondbacks have a negative 14 run differential, and the Giants have a plus 3 run differential, where shout out to Gabe Kapler, just wasting Alex Cobb's arm last night. 131 pitches to just not get the no-hitter.
It's typical. Which is hilarious from Mr. Analytics, too. But
so good.
You love to see it. Reds, not a terrible schedule. They have a really important series against the Cubs coming up, 4 games at home.
That could make or break their season.
Honestly. But then after that, they get the Mariners, Cardinals, Tigers, Mets, Twins, Pirates, Guardians, and finish the season against the Cardinals. Those are winnable.
Yeah, outside of the Mariners and maybe the Twins.
A lot of those teams have nothing to play for. You're probably facing September call-up guys. You got a good shot at you play above 500 through September, you got a shot at wild card here.
And I mean, speaking of the Mariners, talk about a team that did like the complete opposite of the Angels. They trade their closer at the deadline, don't do too much else, and have been one of the best teams in baseball and are now in first place in the American League West.
Yeah, you love to see it.
They've knocked the Texas Rangers out of first place, and it is now a 3-team race in the AL West between the Mariners, the Astros, and the Rangers.
Yeah, it's pretty tight. Pretty tight there.
Mariners now have a plus 108 run differential. They're 8-2 in their last 10. Astros at 77 and 58 in a effective tie for first place in the AL West with a plus 103 run differential, and then the Rangers at 75 and 57 have a plus 174 run differential. The Oakland A's, though, 39 and 95. They've only scored 483 runs this year. They've given up 791 for a negative 308 run differential on the year.
We hardly knew ye.
The Kansas City Royals have joined the A's in the 700-plus runs against club with 718. And sitting in last place, the only team under 500 in the American League East, the New York Yankees at 64 and 68, who are calling up 20-year-old Jason Dominguez for their game tomorrow. How the mighty have fallen.
Hilarious.
It's a beautiful thing. Baltimore still in first place in the AL East, followed by the Rays, who have a plus 183 run differential. And then the American League Central is just a nightmare outside of the Twins, who are barely holding on.
Dominguez spells his name with 2 S's. I hate that.
Yeah.
He's the Martian? Is that what they call him? Is that his actual nickname?
Sounds very Yankees.
That's what this article says. The Martian is ready to land in the Bronx. What?
I will say the kid is very, very good.
Oh, sure.
But the Martian seems preemptive.
The 5'9", 190-pound switch hitters drawn comparisons to the likes of Mickey Mantle and Bo Jackson, among others.
No pressure.
Among others. What are the others? Babe Ruth? Barry Bonds? Like, what do you mean?
Shohei Ohtani?
Yeah, what do you mean among others? What does that mean? You don't start with, like, one of the best baseball players ever and one of the best pure athletes ever. You'd be like, among others. Okay. We just set the expectations there. Jeez.
That's like, I saw this pop up on my timeline the other day because somebody was doing a comparison chart. Did you ever see this David Montgomery running back comparison image?
Hilarious.
That is so funny.
One of my absolute favorites.
Like, they called him Frankenstein.
Yeah.
The feet of Saquon Barkley, the vision of Le'Veon
Which
Bell.
is hilarious because you could say footwork, but the feet of Saquon Barkley just makes it sound like they have the same feet. Like, there's no...
Same shoe size.
Same shoe size.
Bunion on the left foot. Vision of Le'Veon Bell.
Well, Le'Veon Bell did not have good vision because he sat out an entire year and lost a lot of money, so his vision's terrible.
He's the reason running backs are trying to unionize. The strength of Ezekiel Elliott, which, I mean, is even more hilarious when you remember Ezekiel Elliott's final play in a Cowboys uniform.
He's getting pancaked.
And then the athleticism of now retired Sony Michel.
That's a terrible comp. What are we doing? God almighty. Yes. I don't remember the Sony Michel part of that. I remembered everyone else. I did not remember the Sony Michel part of that. Where the hell did that come from?
The athleticism
there are like
of Sony Michel.
20 running backs that I can name off the top of my head right now that I would describe as more athletic than Sony Michel.
The three guys on that list?
That is an insane comparison. David Montgomery, I think, is more athletic.
And it's even funnier. I don't know if you saw the clip from like their training camp. David Montgomery was on like the compression, like rubber band type things to run, and got absolutely yanked backwards by them.
So yeah, they never show you that part. They never show you that part where it all goes wrong.
It's so good. But there's your NL East and Major League Baseball run differentials. I do have a very fun one because, just to remind everybody, we brought run differential to the forefront on this podcast a few years ago as being a stat you should care about. And now all the big name outlets are talking about. Codify tweeted this yesterday. Yes. Run differential since Major League Baseball went to 30 teams in 1998. Can you guess where the Phillies are at as of yesterday in run differentials since 1998?
Out of 30? Honestly, I would guess 24.
They're actually 14th.
I guess those 5 really good years boosted us up. I really would have guessed we were in the bottom third there because, 1998 to now, it's 25 years. Phillies have only been a good team.
6 of those?
Yeah. That's pretty surprising.
14th at plus 72.
I guess the Phillies were never, truly awful during that time. They were always just kind of middling.
And, 06, you still had Ryan Howard, Jimmy Rollins, Bobby Abreu. And, 2019 to now, you had Bryce doing his thing, and but yeah, plus 72. They are the 14th best, and after the Phillies is when every other team turns negative.
Yeah, well, that's hard to say. That's surprising.
Which, surprisingly enough, the Oakland Athletics since 1998 are one of the top teams in baseball with run differential.
Moneyball, baby.
Shout out to Mark McGwire.
Yeah.
Jose Canseco. The Oakland A's since 1998, plus 837 in the run differential category.
That's unbelievable. That is truly
Yankees leading the way at plus 3,146. Then it's the Dodgers, the Red Sox, the Braves, and then the Cardinals, Astros, Cleveland at plus 1,053.
Huh. Would not have had them in my
at
top
all.
10.
And then Oakland, then San Francisco, Toronto, the Angels at plus 481.
Tough beat.
The Mets at plus 216, the Cubs at plus 121, and then the Phillies at plus 72.
Yeah.
Crazy stat there.
I'm surprised we're as high up as we are, but tell you what, some good years will get you back.
Yes. And in dead last at negative 2,661, even with back-to-back World Series appearances, Kansas City Royals.
Yeah. Tough. It's a tough scene.
The teams in the negative 1,000 plus club: Padres, Reds, Rockies, Tigers, Marlins, Orioles, Pittsburgh, and Kansas City. Goes to show you, even the Orioles, who had a nice little stretch there.
Tough existence.
Yes.
That is a tough existence.
So there's your run differential wrap-up for this week. Let's dive into the Philadelphia Eagles and the NFL. It's brought to you by our pals over at Kenwood Beer, the official beer partner of Underground Sports Philadelphia. You can go to kenwoodbeer.com, use that all-new and improved Kenny Finder to see who's got Kenwood Beer on tap in the Philadelphia and Pittsburgh, and potentially soon Maryland, as they were hinting at that. A pairing of Jimmy Seafood and Kenwood Beer seems like one made in heaven. Go to kenwoodbeer.com. You got to be 21 or older to do so, and of course, please drink responsibly. In fantasy football, Matt, we talk about the no running back strategy. I'm loving the Eagles' no punter strategy this season. Aaron Sipos cut. He was re-signed to the practice squad.
Well, it's like in a fantasy draft on some platforms how you can not choose a kicker with your last pick. You can just go for an extra kind of dart throw just to see, if something changes in the next week. And then I think that's what the Eagles do, which is very smart.
I love it.
Very smart play. I think
Eagles,
the game is evolving to not have punters, actually, so just ahead of the curve.
Eagles just anti for the brand, and rightfully so, because I think their weakest point last year was special teams across the board. I think a lot of people would say that. Aaron Sipos, big part of that. Here is the practice squad, though, before we get to the 53-man. Devin Allen, Britton Covey, Mekhi Garner, Julian Good-Jones, Teron Jackson, Kyron Johnson, Tristan McCollum, Joseph Ngata, Brady Russell, Aaron Sipos, Brett Toth, Ben Van Summeren, and then, of course, everybody's favorite underdog, Greg Ward. That's your 13-man practice squad for now. And then your Eagles' 53-man roster. Your quarterbacks, Jalen Hurts, Marcus Mariota, Tanner McKee. I mean, very surprising. Good job on Jalen Hurts making the roster.
There's a nail better there. I wasn't sure.
was
Good
tough.
on him, man. Young kid, worked hard, made the cut. Good for him.
Earned it. Your running back room, just 4 running backs. Kenneth Gainwell, Rashad Penny, Boston Scott, DeAndre Swift. Your wide receiver room, just 4 wide receivers as well. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Quez Watkins, and Olamide Zaccheaus. Then you go to the tight ends, which there are now 4. It's Grant Calcaterra, Jack Stoll, Dallas Goedert, and then the Eagles swing a trade with the Denver Broncos for everybody's favorite fantasy tight end darling, Albert O. Can't wait for the Philly dads to try to pronounce Albert O's last name.
The breakout is this year, I think. So, stay tuned. Watch this space.
Then your O-line, Landon Dickerson, Jack Driscoll, Fred Johnson, Lane Johnson, Cam Jurgens, Jason Kelsey, Jordan Mailata, Sua Opeta, and Tyler Steen. Your edge rushers, Derek Barnett, who is seeking a trade. Don't know when he will be traded, but don't know if he'll be on the roster come week 1. Who knows? Brandon Graham, Patrick Johnson, Hassan Reddick, Nolan Smith, Josh Sweat. Your D tackles, Jalen Carter, Fletcher Cox, Jordan Davis, Moro Ojamo, who makes it as a 7th-round draft pick, Kentavious Street, Marlon Tuipulotu, and Milton Williams. Your linebackers, Zach Cunningham, Nakobe Dean, Christian Ellis with 2 S's. Your corners, James Bradbury, Mario Goodrich, Josh Jobe, Avonte Maddox, Eli Ricks, who makes it as an undrafted free agent, Kelly Ringo, who the Eagles just put a video out on their social media where Kelly Ringo was eating garlic bread with a fork and knife.
Okay, I mean, if you don't want to get your hands all buttery.
That's what he said. So he was out to dinner with the Georgia boys, and they were like, "You eat your bread with a fork and knife?" He's like, "I'm not trying to get garlic all over my hands."
Hey, they have mink napkins, but all right.
And then the surprise corner to make the Eagles roster, Darius Slay.
Yeah, that was, again, one on the bubble. First 4 in.
Just made it. Shout out to Big Play. And then your safeties, Reed Blankenship, or as everybody's calling him, Ed Reed Blankenship, Sidney Brown, Terrell Edmonds, Justin Evans, and your special teamers, Jake Elliott, Rick Lovato. And then some of the players released across the board here that kind of stood out. Nicholas Morrow, who they signed in free agency. Josh Sills, who was claimed on waivers by the Colts, so he's reunited with Shane Steichen. Freddie Swain. Kayvon Wallace was cut, who was claimed on waivers by the Arizona Cardinals. Trey Sermon was waived, and then Tyree Cleveland was waived with the injury settlement as he got injured in the preseason. So I think Kayvon Wallace might be your biggest surprise cut from the guys who didn't make the initial 53. Josiah Scott also cut, a guy who's been on the roster the last couple years. But I think this Eagles team, for the most part, was pretty solid across the board from who you figured was going to make the team.
Yeah. Kayvon Wallace, by the way. I will give you one guess where he ended up.
Yeah, with Jonathan Gannon.
Yes. The man is just a vacuum.
Did you see the other story that kind of involves Jonathan Gannon here that came out today? This is from Tisha Thompson from ESPN. Former Arizona Cardinals head coach Steve Wilkes testified that a team executive gave him a burner phone to communicate with former GM Steve Keim under orders from Keim and team owner Michael Bidwell during Keim's suspension, according to a deposition obtained by ESPN.
For what? Like, what was so important that they needed to, talk this much and this discreetly? I mean, honestly, I don't understand this.
Wow.
Also, just download the Signal app. It's encrypted.
Bidwell and other team executives communicated with Keim throughout his suspension for drunk driving, including while the Cardinals negotiated a 3-year, $39 million contract extension with running back David Johnson. The NFL said At the time, it would not impose additional punishments against Keim after the team suspended him. It was a directive from Keim as well as Bidwell. Wilkes said in the deposition they both knew.
Jesus.
That's insane. And then our good pal, Matt Panasonic DX 4500 on Twitter quotes me and said, Gannon blew off the Super Bowl for a head coaching position he didn't even realize he was being used as a stopgap for.
Yeah, well, have fun collecting that check, brother. You got 1 year. Jonathan Gannon, 3 wins. Come on down. We'll draft Caleb Williams, and you will not get to coach him.
Do you think Kyler's career is like done?
No, he'll get another shot. I think he could. He still has talent,
Mm-hmm.
and I think actually a team might get a decent deal on Kyler. I don't know who necessarily. Depends. I think it depends a lot in this season. Dolphins could make a play there. You know, if Tua. Bucks definitely could. Rams could. I don't know what kind of draft capital they have. They haven't picked in the first 2 rounds since like 2016.
Well,
so
I don't know if Matthew Stafford could connect with Kyler Murray to.
I think Matthew Stafford takes a hit the wrong way this year.
What a quote!
He's turning into dust. Yeah, he can't connect with the young people because he has to be wheeled around the place.
Why doesn't he and Stetson Bennett should just go play some bingo and just relax?
Yeah, Stetson Bennett and they remember the Great Depression. That's awesome. It's awesome that you don't see that many people from that generation still up and at him like that. It's really good to see.
Good for them.
Yeah, who else is in need of a quarterback?
Seattle?
No, I think they're cool with
Geno
for another year. I think they're fine with that. I don't think they need to take that risk. Denver.
Kyler country.
Send Russ to the desert to influence Drake May or Caleb Williams. Patriots? That would never happen in a million years.
Titans?
Will Levis is seemingly below Malik Willis in the depth chart, so
Well, he's
doesn't
got to cut that Mayo weight.
Yeah, well, you get that sometimes. I think Bucks are a good possibility, depending on how their season goes. But
Washington,
not out of the realm there either.
Especially with that bozo who owns the team now.
He does love.
It would be very on brand for him to go get the Ben Simmons of the NFL.
Yeah, that is very true.
Oh man. The
Kyler, man, Modern Warfare 3 comes out in November, man. You just gotta hang tight till then. Whatever the opposite of quiet quitting is. I love it, man. It's so funny because he could be such a great player, but
yeah,
just does not. I don't know. Doesn't seem to have it. Whatever it is.
I speaking of the Great Depression, I was in line to get food at the Phillies game on Monday night with my boy Joe, who was one of the people I went to the game with, and we were looking at how the Phillies have like the painted like pennants behind the scoreboard and everything. First one is 1915, and then the Phillies didn't win another National League title until 1950. I was like, imagine being a kid in 1915. You grow up, you go to war with Joe DiMaggio and Ted Williams, survive 2 world wars, and then just a couple years later is when you witness the Phillies win their second National League championship.
Well, that is truly the life of and then what, from 50 to...
I think there was one in...
What's the breakdown here? It's kind of just a once in a generation.
1950 and 1980.
Yeah, I was gonna say I thought it was from 50 to 80. Like that's almost 3 generations actually.
And then 83,
and then
93,
and
08, 09, and then 2022.
Yeah, I mean, you just do not get them off.
Ladies and gentlemen, sound the alarms. The boys are back from war, and the fightin' Phils are headed to the World Series.
Man, in between the Korean War films. Unbelievable.
What did you do? Oh, I was a background actor in the actual version of Platoon. Is the H-Man alive, or is he in Argentina?
Yeah.
Do
you know anyone named Adolf?
How's Normandy this time of year?
Unbelievable.
Add Normandy to the shore towns of Philadelphia Phillies fans.
Jesus.
We brought up that Cretan Joshua Harris. Did you see the quotes, Matt, of one Ben Simmons?
No, I did not.
Oh,
I try and avoid Ben Simmons.
I tried to as well, but somehow this infiltrated the timeline. It's brought to you by our pals over at Trophy Smack. There's no better way to upgrade your fantasy smack talk than with our friends at Trophy Smack. Fantasy draft's still going on right before the season. You got about another week or so before everything kicks off. Go upgrade your fantasy trophies for your leagues. They got trophies, belts, turnover chains, rings, medal wall art, last place trophies. TrophySmack.com/underground to upgrade your fantasy smack talk today. That's TrophySmack.com/underground to upgrade your fantasy smack talk. Ben Simmons said that if he were to be traded again, the only place he would want to go is Philadelphia. He said he considers Philadelphia a second home, and if things were to go down again, he would welcome a trade back to the Philadelphia 76ers.
I miss you, and I love you. I mean, come on. Christ almighty.
The quote here,
have some respect for yourself.
I'll always have love for Philly. People always ask me, like, if you were going to get traded again, where would you want it to be? I always say, just Philly. Philly is a second home to me. Well, buddy, you'd have to find a new house because that one is occupado. Daryl Morey has the ability to do one of the funniest things of all time.
Brooklyn is like LA, I guess, Man. I don't even know what I would do with myself.
I'm just, as soon as I saw this, I was like, I'm just waiting for the graphic that says, "Welcome back, Ben."
No, thank you. Could not do it. Could not do it.
It would be the most
I don't know.
Sixers thing ever.
I don't know what his mental state would be because last time he was here, it was just he's having the worst time of his life. So it's giving him back pain. So much distress.
I could not believe when I saw that.
Unbelievable.
And it didn't help me mentally either today when Nick Nurse throws out the first pitch at the Phillies game today.
Not a good omen.
Took a little page out of the Bryce Harper School of Pandering, did the Kimbrel warm-up and Kimbrel stance on the mound. He was wearing number 25 on his jersey. It's like, what are we doing here?
Read the goddamn room.
What are we doing here? But yeah, let us know in the YouTube comment section if you are a certified sicko and would take Ben Simmons back on the Sixers after everything he put us through. The Philadelphia Union, Matt, they have their next match up against Toronto, and they are doing a great job on social media, just trolling the ever-living shit out of Toronto's stadium. Expectations for this match in a game that the Union, quite frankly, should be able to take care of business and win.
Yeah. Back to a little bit more of a standard lineup for them, like we've seen in years past, kind of going back sort of to like a midfield diamond, like we've seen from them. Carranza and Ura up top, Gazdag in the hole between them. Gives you nice flashbacks to last year. They've been in a little bit of good verve, working their way back into league play. So Toronto, one of the worst teams in all of MLS. So you should be, like you said, picking up a good result tonight. And you're sort of starting to close down You're locking down like one of the top seeds in the East. It's very, very tight. Was it 4 teams on 44 points right now? Obviously, Cincinnati very likely to be finishing top of the Eastern Conference and probably win Supporter Shield this year too. It's hard to see a 10-point gap getting close, but
Did that kind of come out of nowhere for them?
Cincinnati's interesting. Yeah, like they've had a little bit instability. They're again, a lot of MLS teams are relatively new. The Union are technically relatively new still, in the grand scheme of things. But
I know Cincinnati always gives us trouble.
yeah, not a team that we've played particularly well. A team that's gone through just some turbulent times over the last few years, as a lot of new teams will do. I think this is only their 5th season in MLS. This season I would say, I don't want to say out of nowhere, but it's always a little bit of surprise when teams that have recently joined the league find their way up at the top of the hill. But St. Louis is an expansion team at the very top. We've seen it with plenty of teams before. Nashville, Atlanta, has won MLS as a really new team. LAFC even is a new team. All things considered, just kind of the way it goes sometimes. But yeah, I think a team that in years past too, defensively was a big issue, and this year they've been one of the better teams in all of MLS. With that, Pat Noonan's a good coach, and he's someone that I think should be considered potentially at the USMNT level. Who knows? We'll see. But yeah, good stuff.
I do think the crazy comparison part is the goal differential for Cincinnati and Philadelphia. They're almost identical, where the Union have a better goal differential by 2. Both teams have scored the same number of goals. It's just the Union have 3 more losses as opposed to 3 more wins that Cincinnati has, and Cincinnati has 1 more draw because they'll play 1 more game overall.
Yeah. One thing that the Union definitely have over Cincinnati, they're very reliant on Acosta. He's a main creator and goal scorer. Philly has a pretty good balance of guys. Any of those front 3 you can expect to score or assist on a given night. And I think Gonzaga is on 17 straight penalties. I think 1 more would tie the MLS record. So maybe we see that tonight. Who knows? But he is, unfortunately, the only time he hasn't been great at penalties was in MLS Cup final last year. But maybe our fortune changed this season. But yeah, probably not top seed in the East, which is okay. We'll move on, but should be getting the win tonight against Toronto. They're, like I said, one of the worst teams, and just talk about mismanagement all the way around.
And I mean, Union right now, no score. Cincinnati down 1-0 to Atlanta as we record this. So, I mean, if the Union can pull out a win, Cincinnati ends up losing to Atlanta. You're in a tie with Atlanta still for that spot, 2 through 5, whatever it may end up being. And then Cincinnati's only 6 points in front of you.
You do have a game against Cincinnati in September still to play,
which is huge.
Could be a good opportunity to make up some ground, but
we shall see how it all plays out. Make sure you guys are following us on the socials at Underground PHI, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Threads, TikTok, all that good stuff. We're on every social media platform you can think of. Follow Matt on Twitter at Matt Castorina. Follow me at KBIZZL311. Subscribe to the podcast feed on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast. Leave a 5-star rating and review. It goes a long way for helping this show continue to grow, helps more people find Underground Sports Philadelphia, and lets us do more dope stuff that we have a lot planned, and in order to do it, we need your help. So subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel, youtube.com/@Underground Sports Philadelphia. That's where you get full video episodes of this show twice a week, full video episodes of every podcast on our network, live streams, original video content. It all goes down on our YouTube channel. We're at 533 subscribers as of this recording. Let's get to 550 going into September. Let's keep the subscriber train rolling. YouTube.com/@Underground Sports Philadelphia. Be sure to get your merch at phiapparel.co. Use code Underground for 10% off any and all merch orders. And, of course, this podcast presented by the City of Vineland. And whether you're a company looking to expand, relocate, or you're a new business startup, selecting the right location is critical to your success. Vineland, New Jersey offers both an affordable business location and an excellent quality of life. The city's economic development department is a one-stop source for moving your project through the development and approval process, and their goal is to make this process as smooth as possible and to provide the fastest turnaround times in the region. If you're considering potential locations for your operation, contact the Vineland Economic Development Team at 856-794-4100. That's 856-794-4100. Vineland, New Jersey, where it's always growing season. And big thank you to Security 21 Security Systems and Paul J. Gillespie Incorporated for their continued support of this podcast. This has been episode number 564 of Underground Sports Philadelphia, presented by the City of Vineland. For Matt, I'm KB. We'll catch you guys this weekend, going into a wild one with the Phils, seeing how things go down in Milwaukee. DJ will be here in studio as we get set for the PLL quarterfinals up at Gillette Stadium on Labor Day. But until then, we're getting the heck up out of here, and we are signing off. Peace.